Gemini, hi, come on in. It's very good to see you. You're here for your Gemini November 2019 reading, and that's great. I'm going to use a deck today that I haven't used for a while, but which I love. It's called the Thoth deck. Most people know of it. It does have a lot of very interesting esoteric imagery in it, and so I'll use my pen, I think, maybe, to point out sometimes some of the really interesting esoteric aspects of a card, which for me very often affect the meaning of the card. Incidentally, I have uploaded your Gemini 2020 yearly reading, by the way, if you're interested, and you can find that on the playlist section of my channel, or just search Nigel Gemini 2020 and that will take you to the reading. Goes for about an hour. I think it's quite a long and intense reading, so make yourself a nice comforting drink and settle back and enjoy yourself. But let us now find what is in store for you this month of November, the month of Thanksgiving in the United States. Now, what is going to jump out? That one has, whatever that is. Let's see what it has to say. That is the Chariot. Beautiful imagery. This is coming out. The Ace of Wands. It's great energy for you, Gemini. See a lot of you in that card, Gemini. A lot of you in that card. There's a lot of expansion and development associated with it. We'll take the one on the top, shall we? There's the Three of Cups. Now there is a card which is entitled Lust. Now this is pointing out first, so we'll see what it has to say. And there is Debauch. So Lust and Debauch, the Seven of Cups and the Major Arcana number 11. Okay, why don't you come down, sit down next to me and have a look at these cards while I do the reading for you. All right, Gemini, here we are. Oh, this is interesting. You have lust here and you have debauchery over here. Well, it might be an interesting month for you, but I'm drawn for some reason to come to this card first. This is the Ace of Wands. And let's have a quick look at the imagery of it, shall we? Let me just count them there. There's 18 lightning bolts here. And 18, the number 18, when you do the gematria for Hebrew letters, it actually means life. And here we have a very phallic symbol of a wand, which is ejaculating, it's got to be said, probably sperm, which is about life and it's about creation. And this is something which is being said to you for this month, because remember that creation is the eternal birth, a beginning without end. The same power that burns in the stars burns equally within you. Your being is a miracle, equal with the creation of the universe. And like the universe, each day is created anew. And that is the situation for you. Now let's have a look further at this card, but bring it out something in here. Now, the Ace of Wands governs the fire signs generally, so it is Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo. But I think the people who are going to be of interest to you in this period, Leo is certainly one of them, I think, but I also see Virgo and I also see Cancer as being people who are going to be surrounding you or have an interest for you in this period. I think what we can say here is that this is an interesting thing I'll tell you is that esoterically inside this card reside all the other minor arcana cards and all the other suits and all the court cards. If you were to put a microscope on it, mystically, it is that creative. It is the real power of creation that you have here. The Lord of the root of the power of fire, I call it. It's the creative spark, a new project for you, I think, a new start, maybe a passionate union. Your vital forces will be surging during this period, I think, and that's a fantastic thing for you. It represents a time in your life where you have a breakthrough moment. And I'm also looking at this card here, which I may go to next. It just depends. That breakthrough moment, I think, is one where you'll have insight into something and feel inspired and motivated to move your life forward. A big opportunity is going to be opening up for you. You have the possibility, because aces are about possibility, of tapping into your latent potential. And you have such potential in you. It's a perfect time, therefore, for you to draw upon your imagination and make your dreams happen. Spiritually, this is a time maybe for you to think about rewriting your life. I think that there will be inside of you something of a desire to undertake some self-discovery. And this, of course, can apply to someone who is 80 as much as it does to someone who is 18. This card really is reminding you that the primordial energy of the divine has manifested into matter. And at this stage, though, something yet hasn't become crystallized when the Aces is here. But this is important. This is very important for you during this period here. So you have something. All you've got to do is go down into the well of possibility, scoop something up, and make it happen. And that is something that's going to go for you and go well. I'm not going to go to that card up there, which is a Chariot. I'm going to go to this card because it looks... I'm just wondering what it's about, because there are other cards here which are... Incidentally, where the position is of this card, you can see it down on this right-hand corner. I'm not concerned about it so much because it's on its way out. It's on its way out. But it's here for a reason, and it's probably here to give you a sense of reassurance, or not so much a warning as to say to you, don't be surprised if something like this happens, because if it does happen, then you can be aware of it. Now, the Seven of Cups. Well, the first thing that I'll notice is that the number 7, numerologically for me, is associated with the planet of Venus. And Venus is all about love and beauty, and also about money, of course. It is, I think, really the Lord of illusionary success. It's Venus ruling the third decan of Scorpio for me. You know, that period, the 13th of November to the 22nd of November. Well, Venus is the planet of love, and Scorpio is all about intensity and in-depth transformation and exploration of yourself and others. But Venus doesn't have any handbrake applied to it here, because I've got Venus ruling Scorpio in the card, and I have, with this number 7, I have a mystical association of Venus with the number 7, and so there is a double dose of Venus. And if you look at the imagery here, we have the petals of these flowers are all drooping, aren't they? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cups. The petals are drooping. They look a little bit downhearted and crestfallen. They're dripping discolored water from the suit of cups into this stagnant looking pond. And even in the background here, this grayish sort of a look there says to me that there may be something going on with you emotionally which you're not processing in a way which is harmonious, or in a way which is actually for your best good, is what I'm getting. So just to be aware of that. I'm not trying to put a curse on you or anything like that. I'm just saying that this is something which may well be there. As I say, so we have a double dose of Venus. And so Venus, in Scorpio, well, Venus in ordinary astrology, the astrologers will tell you that Venus is in detriment when it's in Scorpio. And so Venus can't express its sensitivity and emotions properly. Instead, they can get channeled into negative addictions and intensity, which is the darker side of Scorpio. As I see it, it implies that you might indulge in excessive behavior due to something which has affected you probably deeply, I think, and changed you perhaps even in a way. And changed you in a way which might even be throwing up its own set of challenges, or its own set of problematic issues or behaviors, or ways of looking at yourself, or ways of looking at the word. This is really, as I call it, the Lord of illusory success. It represents the working of Venus in the sphere of the mind, where her influence is by no means clear-sightedness. And when this is going on, I think you can tend to believe what you want to believe when you are under the influence of Venus in this sort of a situation. But it's not forever. And as I say, also, forewarned is forearmed. Now, it might be that you are engaging in or having thoughts of engaging in addictive sort of behavior, which could be overeating, like it's really easy to eat, 12 Krispy Kreme donuts in a row. I know, because I've done it. And I'm not proud of it, but there it is. But gee, it was good. And you can also perhaps have negative thoughts, which you kind of self-medicate by excessive behaviors, or negative patterns of behavior which relate to sex or your diet or alcohol or drugs. Look, I think what this is saying to you is look, just stand up, be aware that is it the case that you may have lost control over your circumstances and that this is producing damaging lifestyle choices? You need to get back to who you are. Who you are can sometimes slip away so quietly. You can lose yourself so quietly. If you lose an arm or a leg, or if you lose a husband or a wife or a partner, well, of course, you recognize that loss immediately, don't you? But the sense of who you are can sometimes quietly drip away. And you wake up one day and you go, well, is this really who I am? Is this really who I set out to be? Is this really who I am supposed to be? Is this what I'm here for? And I think that this card is reminding you to actually consider those things there. But we have getting that out of the way. There's such good stuff coming through now that it kind of blows it off the table. Let's have a look at this card here, which is the Chariot. Now, this is an interesting sort of a depiction of the Chariot. Well, here is a charioteer in armor, in wheels. He's sitting down. He's not holding any reins. He's holding rather what is, I take it to be, the Holy Grail. And the chariot is being drawn by 4 creatures. Now this is an interesting thing for me. These 4 creatures are, here is a lion, a human, an eagle, and a bull. Now, there's an Old Testament or Hebrew Bible book called Ezekiel, and he was a prophet. And Ezekiel, in chapter 1, talks about how he had this vision, and he was visited by 4 people who had the form of humans, but on their heads they each had 4 faces, and the faces were at the front a human, to the right a lion, to the left a bull, and at the back an eagle. That was how he depicted these supernatural beings as they came to him. Well, we know these forms today as Leo, the fixed sign of fire. This human face represents Aquarius, the fixed sign of air. The eagle here, in its exalted form, it starts as a scorpion, then a snake, and then becomes an eagle, is the fixed sign of water, being Scorpio, and the bull, of course, is the fixed sign of earth, being Taurus. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting. These big wheels here, to me, are associated with the Wheel of Fortune or the Wheel of Life. They're coloured red, which I assume is from the influence of Mars, which is also within this Holy Grail. And this guy's got a red cloak around him, which is also associated with Mars, which talks about his passion, whereas these wheels, being red, they talk about will. So there's will and there's passion here. His face is not seen. It's reminiscent of that phrase that says, no one can look upon his face and live. He has the sign of Cancer, being the crab above him, and the canopy here is in blue, as are these blue sapphires all around him, which is depicted, or for me mystically, is associated with the planet of Jupiter. So there's a very expansive and philosophical aspect to this card as well. Now, I think what we can say is that, well, what's going to go on with your life? The child of the powers of the waters, the lord of the triumph of light, he is a symbol for victory. And he's a symbol for getting over lack of direction, a symbol for getting over lack of ambition or drive. And some of this stuff here where we were talking about things being, we might be a bit down in the dumps about something. This card here, which is major arcana, I'll say, so it trumps what's going on here in the sense that it takes precedence over it because it's sitting up. As you'll recall, let's pull it out so we can see it again. It's sitting up in this top hand corner like this, and so its energy is pouring through here. I think that this is referring to victory over adversity for you. And I'm thinking it's saying that, look, you may well have come through something of a difficult period, but you're overcoming it. And it's saying to have the courage to act, and that you will have the courage to act. It's all very well having the intention to do something, but it's got to be followed through, and this is what's going to be happening. I think you will have success over previous negative patterns. It's possible, I think, that you'll have something of a focus on self-discipline. Could well be rest and contemplation after a busy period here, but certainly moving forward to higher goals. You're going to be moving ahead, but remain centered and true to yourself. See, this chariot here has got full of armor, so he's making sure that he's protected. And what this is saying is that you too should make sure that you are protected in this circumstance. O amber heart, O crystal bell that rings once without end, I am the wine you bear in your ceremony. My will is to serve you alone. Am I fermented properly? Is the vintage ripe? Oh, that I may give pleasure to your mouth, oh my beloved. Yeah. I think what we can also say is that you should be looking upon this as a time when you have these thoughts in mind, which is that I motivate others positively. I am responsible for what I cause. I accomplish things well and with ease. I am putting my life in order and preparing for the new beginning. Let's have a look at the Lust card. What a great name. Lust. Well, lust. Okay. Let's have a look at it. Here we have the figure of a woman that is astride a lion. Okay. A lion which is actually a seven-headed beast. Now, the lust aspect of it is, well, clearly, astrologically, there's a lot of Leo in it. In fact, I see Leo ruled by the sun with Uranus exalted in here. And I call her the daughter of the flaming sword. Now, she represents historically what might be called the Scarlet Woman. And she is looking backwards. And what's she looking back at? She's looking at this serpent, which has the head of a lion. And this serpent represents, well, it's a phallic symbol, to be frank. And she's looking at it and saying, well, okay, I understand the connection there. She's holding in her hand the Holy Grail. In her left hand here, she's holding red reins over this beast. And that is a sign of passion and of sexuality. And I don't know if you can make them out, but there are figures here, like there's a face and there's an arm and another head and what have you. This beast is trampling over the bodies of the saints, as they may be called. That is, those who are so concerned about purity and celibacy and a dislike of sex that they are denying their actual human nature. And this card is a reaffirmation of the human nature that we have. It's also talking, I think, about you having courage, strength, control of life forces. Now, it could also, I think, be a harbinger of something which may be a great love affair, or certainly it's one for increasing love within an existing relationship. I very much get that sense out of it completely. I think that this is really challenging conventional views on what a spiritual path should be, perhaps, or what qualities are needed to pursue or teach in a spiritual way. It certainly is saying that God is not going to punish you for anything, because God doesn't have any moral issue about your love life. Nothing at all. And so guilt and self-inflicted punishment are wrong in this area. And I think this could also relate to having a passion for a particular situation. It's about engaging in life to the fullest, being comfortable with your sexuality, accepting your carnal desires for what they are, and rejoicing in them. But follow the middle path. Don't let them throw you or your life out of balance. Yeah, very much a passionate relationship with a strong sensual, sexual and emotional intensity here. And as I say, that can be whether you're coupled or whether you're on the market. I think also doing something because you love it and not overanalyzing it. You are the rose to my cross. Find new life in my heart. You are the moon to my sun, and I the wine to your cup. I pour the whole of me into you. I have this thought in mind. Well, probably a question first, a couple of questions, and it is, what areas in your life would you like to live out more fully? What has prevented you from doing so in the past? And is it time for you to really think about looking at those things again? But have this thought in mind that I enjoy expressing my energy, vitality, and enthusiasm in all that I experience. I am a person of character and strength. I have unlimited creative resources to tap into and to express. Yep, because that certainly is the case with you. It certainly is the case with you. Let's have a look at what we have here. We dealt with him. We did. Oh, here we go. We're now down to this fantastic card here, which is abundance. Now, let's have a look at this card, abundance, so-called. The number 3, well, I love the number 3 because numerologically 3 refers to extension, to increase, to gestation, to creation, almost like when a woman is pregnant and starts to grow a child within her. They're the types of thoughts that I have. I'm having a look here at, there are 3 cups made out of what look like pomegranates. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lotuses, which are pouring water into those 3 cups. Well, let's have a look. I think that what I can see here then from a symbolical point of view is these 8 cups. Mystically, the number 8 to me is represented or associated with the planet of Mercury, the Lord of Abundance, Mercury. And I have Mercury in the second decan of Cancer as being the astrology of this card. The second decan is about the 2nd to the 11th of July. Why do I get Mercury so strong in here? It's because, well, I look at these pomegranates again. You know, in Greek mythology, and this is to do with the seasons. You might wonder, how did people explain the changing of the seasons, the moving from summer into autumn and winter and what have you? Well, it's like this. The goddess Demeter, who was the daughter of the king of the gods, Zeus, she had a daughter called Persephone. And Persephone was out in a field one day gathering flowers, and the god who ruled the underworld, where the dead went, was Hades, sometimes known as Pluto. Anyway, when Persephone was out gathering flowers in the field one day, the ground opened up and Hades came out of, and Hades is the name for the underworld, so I'll call him Pluto so we don't get it mixed up. Pluto came out through that hole, that crack at the ground, came up to the surface of the earth. And he grabbed Persephone. She spilt all the flowers over the field. And he had his horses with him, and he picked her up, ravished her, and you can take that as you might want to, and dragged her down into Hades, down into the underworld, into the realm of the dead. Now Demeter, when she came looking for her daughter later in the day, couldn't find her in that field because, of course, she'd been kidnapped, she'd been abducted. And Pluto wanted to have his wicked way with her, and he did, and he wanted to keep her imprisoned down there as a sort of a wife, or as a, well, I'll be charitable and say it was a wife. Anyway, Demeter wandered around, couldn't find her anywhere, and so she searched high and low all over the world, and while she was searching for her, her grief became such that Demeter was the goddess that looked after fertility of the earth, that is, of growth and the abundance of nature. And it stopped. Nature stopped growing. Winter fell upon the land. Nothing would grow. And people started starving. Well, Zeus saw this and went, gee, hang on, we can't have this going on. And so he sent Mercury, and that's where I get this Mercury figure here. He sent Mercury down to negotiate the release of Persephone from the underworld. Now, the thing with the underworld was this, that if you ate anything when you were in the underworld, you were condemned to remain there, condemned to remain in Hades. And now, Persephone didn't eat anything, whether out of stubbornness or because she was homesick or because of the treatment that had been put out to her. But what Pluto did was he got her to eat a pomegranate seed, just a seed. And that condemned her to remain in Hades. But what Mercury did was he came down and he said, look, okay, well, I understand that she's got to remain in Hades, but she should be allowed out of there for a few months of the year to be with her mother, and then she would return. And that's what happened when she was, and some people say she was allowed out for 4 months, other people for 6 months. To cut a long story short, when the daughter came back up out of Hades, Persephone was with her mother, Demeter. Demeter was happy. Everything started to grow. There was the spring and the summer. And then when the girl had to return back down into Hades, her grief overcame her, and then things stopped growing again. And that's why people plant seeds at the end of fall, or autumn as it's called, which lie dormant, planted in through winter, and then when the spring and summer come up, the plants grow. And that's just the interesting story which comes to me from these things here. But anyway, I have Mercury in the second decan of Cancer. Now, Cancer is the most maternal of the signs, and really well placed, I think, with this number 3. which is to do with extension and gestation, leading to birth. Really well placed in this number 3. And I think Cancer people can communicate with feeling, conveying a sort of a sensitive, withdrawn and thoughtful nature, gentle and intuitive, by and large. I think they are, aren't they? What we have here is, I think, that with Mercury in the card, Mercury in the second decan of Cancer, Mercury is also about will and communications. And he's in Cancer, which is about nurturing. So this is saying to me that you are going to be able to express your feelings fully with people you are close to, which is going to enrich your life and is going to enrich their lives as well. Now, the thing is that when you have here this feeling of great abundance, which is what's coming through, it can also mean for you, the birth of an idea or a goal, or possibly you'll even hear about a pregnancy or the birth of a child. I think you'll be sharing your success with other people during this period, and life is going to feel good. Have this thought in mind that today life gives me everything I need to be happy, because it does. And this is a good time to tell other people that you love them. Certainly 1, 2, 3 people you should tell Mercury that you love them, which is nurturing. And it's also a good time to do something for the benefit of other people by way of a compliment or a word or boosting their morale without expecting anything in return. When you say kind words without expecting anything in return to someone, so you might just go up to someone in a shopping centre and say, not in a creepy way, but go up to someone in a shopping centre and say, gee, I love those colours on you, you look fantastic. Or, I love the way you wear your hair like that, or something like that. And make the people feel good, and particularly people who you think may not necessarily always get such compliments. Then you'll find great karmic reward for such words, and those words will travel on throughout eternity. That's the way it is for you this month. Well, there you go. There is your November 2019 reading, and look, I thought that was fantastic. I really enjoyed doing that. Extremely interesting for me to be able to do that. I love this deck, and I love the messages that were coming through for you. I think that I think you're going to have a great month. Look, the only other thing that remains for me to say is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, bye for now.